Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Blue Abroad's Analytics Corner, the Rivals. And this week we're showcasing Fremantle over in WA. Now, 2019 was a bit of a transitional year for them. Ross the Boss, we know, departed at the end of the year, replaced by Justin Longmuir. And he comes in highly regarded, 9 years with the Eagles and the Pies. I'd expect to see a similar game plan that's worked for them. He was a core of that kind of building that structure. So I expect to see a more transitional game plan as opposed to Ross, who plays a more methodical defensive game plan. I expect to see a more fluid style of football being played in the Optus. That's more kind of up to date with the current top sides and what's kind of in vogue nowadays. Now let's have a look at their ins. So, first up, we know they got Blake Acres as part of the Brad Hill deal. The 24-year-old utility is a good get for me. He can play just about anywhere. He can play all across half-back, all across the midfield, inside and out. And that versatility is what most top teams have players of that kind of calibre and ilk. He combines strength and athleticism, averages around 20 touches a game. And for me, he's one of them valuable players that you kind of don't think you need, but you probably do when the season is so long. He really helps do a job. They also welcome James Aish, and for me, talented half-back. And with Collingwood's issues with the salary cap, their loss was Freo's gain. Very, very good footballer. And for me, in a league that is very half-back heavy from transition, rebounding, from score launches, XYZ, he slots into that role and he really is quick. He finds it, very efficient user. And for me, very good get and a very good staple. Now, we know that I love a draft, and Freo's draft for me was impeccable. I wish we had their picks. Hayden Young, for me, to slip to 7 was mind-boggling. Many experts had it as a dart throw between him and Anderson for 2 and 3. And to end up at 7, Freo must have thought Christmas had come early. He's quick, he's an exceptional user, good intercept mark. The idea of him at halfback, with a Hughes, who I think has got a lot of room for development, or an Aish, is really the template of that modern-day half-back line. For me, lock him in for 200 games. He's a phenomenal footballer. And if we remember my draft show, I was a big fan of Caleb Sarong. And for me, with Jesse Hogan having a prolonged period on the sidelines, you'd say that their biggest weakness is the forward line, and where do the goals come from outside of Walters? And with players like Hill, who provide goals, also leaving, it's an issue. But for me, he has a ceiling that's even higher than Brad Hill. He's sharp, he's a natural footballer, has good vision and IQ. He's silky and uses it very well. Moving forward, I see him kind of like that Dustin Martin type role. I'm not saying he's going to be like Dustin Martin. I'm saying that type of role, where he can slot into the forward line, slot into the midfield, and really impact wherever he goes. I think he's a very good get and he's a very exciting prospect. Another exciting prospect is the pocket rocket Liam Henry. For me, it was a very stagnant at times forward line, and to me, this is the kind of thing that now they have the potential to rival, like say, an Eagles with Sarong and Henry there. You've got Walters there as well. Really, that excitement in there, because forward pressure was their weakness. And here's another sneaky, evasive, natural little ball of energy. It's really going to cause defenders havoc in the years to come. For me, he's definitely a really good get. And for me, watch out. I think he will impress from the off. He's that type of player that will kick goals straight away. Fredericks and Pina also came in, a wingman and a small defender, effectively. For me, if you look at, say, Frederick, he's got good handling, good little wingman, finds the ball, has all the facets, probably just lacks a little bit of body and a bit of size. And Pina, just a small defender. Again, I think they're going to have a bit of development this year in the waffle, and we'll see what they do the year after. But for me, you'd say that's an A-star draft period for me. Now let's look at the 22, and you can see this is the 22 that I've gone with that I think will be out round 1. And you see, for me, funny thing about Free is when you look at them statistically is they bang on average for everything. They're like middle of the road, they're like 9th, 10th, 11th for everything. But for me, the big thing was the forward line was ineffective. They got it there just as much as any club. They were like literally 9th for entries inside 50. But they didn't capitalise. And that being said, the future is bright for them now. And I suspect that some of these young guys will be drip-fed. But if you look down back, like you've got players like Luke Ryan, for me, who is the most underrated footballer in the comp. He's a modern-day backman, sets up the transition well. Absolutely solid at what he does. He finds the ball, just like everyone else does. I think Joe Hamlin's a very good defender. I think Nathan Wilson has got a lot of work to do, but I think he's got all the keys, and I expect him to have a decent year this year. Ethan Hughes and James Aish, with Hayden Young coming off the pine, I think that's got the facets of what you want. For me, Nat Fyfe is the best player in the comp. Without a doubt, his consistency rating with TPI has him off the charts. And for me, you just look at him, what you see is what you get. His averages are literally what he does every game. And for me, that consistency is really important for that midfield, especially losing some of the experience they have, like in Langdon and Hill. It's really going to be on his shoulders now to really feed Brayshaw and Sarah, who I think will play more midfield time. They're wonderful talents. Really give them the opportunity to step up and really help him out, because Fyfe is kind of a little bit like in the Carlton situation. He's so good, you need players to help him out. You can't do it all alone. And for me, I think Brayshaw and Sarah will really, really go up a gear this year. And I think, for me, when you've got Fyfe in your midfield, you've always got a chance. Forward line, I mean, I have two notes. For me, Walters is one of the top three in the comp of what he does. Mid-forward, finds it, scores, tackles, everything you want. And that's their big issue, though, is the tackle aspect. They don't lock it in very well, and that is one of their big weaknesses, ranking bottom 4 for that stat. But the other takeaway I've got with their forward line is Taberner. I really rate Taberner, and before his injury last year, he was actually on course to have Hawking-like numbers. And for me, he is a phenomenal player. You know, he can score, good set shot goal, good mark, good contested mark, got all the facets. Very underrated there when people talk about Fremantle. I think Matt Taberner, like, don't come at me, but I do think he's got real potential to be a real key forward. And I think when you add Lob into that as well, pinch hitting in the forward line, he's good target. I think you kind of like got an Audi brand version of Lynch and Rewalt. And I know that sounds really harsh, I don't mean it to be, but obviously not that level. But you know, that type of setup where you combine mobility and aerial craft with just like, you know, natural stay-at-home forward craft. And I think between them, you've kind of got that there. So many people have said to me, who's you want to watch out for? Now, for me, my one to watch out for this year is going to be Adam Sarah. If you're going to go for an established player, I think he's going to have a breakout year. And I really do. And Longmuir and Sarah have both mentioned that midfield minutes are going to increase. I think he's really going to break out. He's really primed to break out. And as for the young ones, watch out for Hayden Young. The kid is class. Literal next level. So let's have a look. How do you beat Fremantle Football Club? Well, I mean, it's going to be tough to know until we see what Longmuir has changed. But what I would say is, and what is apparently obvious, is Langdon and Hill has deprived them of that run and stun. It's deprived them of games. It's deprived them of experience. So I expect there'll probably be a more methodical approach in the midfield anyway. It won't be, you know, run and stun. I think it'll be more, you know, trying to feed and break down opposition a little bit more. But for me, that's the issue there. When Fyfe is so far ahead of the rest of the midfield group with the experience and skill level, it's going to make it easier to, you know, put a bit of pressure on Fyfe, put a bit of pressure on that young midfield. And because they don't have them outlet balls, they can't spread the players efficiently. So for me there, you're just going to put your pressure on Bewley, you're going to put your pressure on Sarah, and really make it a tough thing. I mean, they rank top 5 for turnovers in defensive 50 and bottom 5 for locking it inside forward 50. So there's that thing. If you can pressure them, you know mistakes will come. Their backline has improved out of sight, but for me, put a lot of pressure and you stop that link between midfield and the forward line, I think that's where you'll beat them. It's a young list with the experience that has been lost. And we know youth does make mistakes. So for me, it's all about putting pressure on them. And losing prime players like Langdon and Hill, literally in the prime of their careers, is a tough ask. But to me, that's how I think you beat them. I think it's literally just stay in it, put pressure on them. Overall, TPI predicts them to finish 13th, a bit like they did last year. Champ Starter is claiming it's the 16th best list, which I think is a little bit harsh. I know critics have said they're going to struggle this year, but I think Ross has drilled them so well. Longmuir's kind of cut the shackles. I think they're going to be fine. I think he's a progressive coach, and I think this year that they'll be mid-table, and I really do expect them to fire the year after. I don't think this like rebuild that people are talking about is going to take a long time. As always, everyone, thanks for watching and listening. Best of luck, Fremantle Football Club. Big fan of the colour, I've got to say. If I was picking a team based on colour, Fremantle would be it. I love the purple. Shout out to Wade Rawlins, Dane's brother, massive Fremantle fan. I wish you all the best of luck this season apart from us. Stay navy blue, guys. I'm Dan. Thank you very much.